Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm discussing the top 10 defenders of all time in the NBA. To start off, I'm going to do some honorable mentions. First honorable mention, Kobe. Then just barely edged out my list. Then I have Tim Duncan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Will. I know people are going to be mad about this one. I just don't know the stats he put up because none of those awards, the blocks weren't recorded, steals weren't recorded, and people might think that's a bit unfair because I'm putting Bill Russell up here, but I don't think Wilt showed enough defensive presence. Then another one we have is Ron Artest and Kevin Garnett. Barely just edged out my list. At first I had him, but then I realized number 10, who I just researched a little later, realized he had to be on this list. Okay, to start off the list, this might be a little weird for some of you guys. Kawhi Leonard. People say he might have not proven much. He's still 29, and there is kind of a future prediction for Kawhi Leonard that he might get into the he might be one of the greatest in the future, but I still think right now he makes it. There's a reason why he's called the Claw. He has 2 defensive players of the year, 6-time all defensive, and the person who he didn't really shut down LeBron, but he actually played great defense for him. At that time he was only like 21, around 23, and he played great defense against LeBron. That's why he got that finals MVP. And this is, as I said before, kind of a future prediction. He has a steal average of around 1.8, and he has a steals champion as well. Blocks is around 1. Recent years has gone up. It's around 2. It's like around 1.6, and there you go. Okay, now at number 9 we have Gary Payton, which might be like some of you guys might not know much about him, but there's a reason why he's called the Glove. Similar to Kawhi Leonard, he has so much. He used to get so much steals back in the day. Not only that, he was a great player. He actually had decent playmaking on for his career. He had 6 assists as well. He has a defensive player of the year. He's one of the greatest point guard defenders of all time, and yet he's also one of the players that can't really be shown in stats. You have to really watch his game. He's a player who fell to the Jordan era, meaning that he didn't get a championship due to Jordan, and he did play against him in the finals, and he actually did beat the 2-time reigning champions Hakeem and the Rockets. So that's nothing on his resume, and as I said before, you need to watch some of his games to see how good he was at defense. Now at number 8, some of you guys are gonna be like, oh, I don't know why everyone hates him. Dwight Howard. Everyone has been disrespecting Dwight. People do not understand how good he was in Orlando. This guy was a 2020 machine. Not only that, has 2 block champions, has 3 defensive of the player who are back to back to back. I don't want to hear it. If anything, I should probably put him high on this list, and I'm probably degrading him a little bit here. I'm not having any of this Dwight hate. You know, I don't care. Fight me in the comment section right now. 2-time block champ, 5-time all defensive, 3-time defensive player of the year. Yeah, after that he took a little toe down. Still had so much rebound champion. He even with Houston, great rim protector, perimeter D's alright. Recently he's fell off because he's gone a little older, around 35, and when he turned around 31, obviously fell off. But with Houston, he took them quite far. They got to the conference finals where they fell to the, of course, Golden State Warriors. No one's beating them, and that's it. Now at number 7 we have Michael Jordan. This might seem a little low because you guys can probably tell I have 2 of his teammates above him, and I think they're actually better defenders than him. But Michael Jordan has been such underrated defense, and obviously this is one of the things he does have against LeBron. His defense, he has a defense player of the year, 9-time all defensive, and actually put up great numbers. Once he even got a steal champion. He got it twice. He got it 3 times actually. Try. I'm correct. Yeah, yes, he had it 3 times. Played great perimeter D in the playoffs. Actually came out big time in some of these big series. Played great defense, and he's like I think he doesn't get enough credit. I think he honestly deserves more credit than he does for his defense. If anything, I think I probably should have put him higher on this list. But honestly, it's kind of hard to put him above these 6 players I'm about to list right now. So give me your thoughts in the comments. Now at 6 we have Ben Wallace. I know this is probably a little low as well. I don't know, because it's so hard to rank because all these guys can mix up. I don't mind if you put like my number 3, number 4 down to number 9. It's really up to what you value. Perimeter D, like rim protection, depends what you value. And obviously he has 4 defensive players of the years, but he doesn't have. He had a really great run where he was really good, but after that, I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't the same player. I'm not saying he wasn't good. He was a great defender. He'd been a great defender for his whole career. But after he got those 4 defensive player of the years and 6 all defenses, which were all in a row, basically after he left Detroit around like '05, I think he got one more, and then he just, I know age caught up to him, but he didn't get any more. And due to the early part of his career, it was early, but he had a short span. And people do know I do value primes quite a lot, but with defense, you have to be a little more consistent, because these guys above him, they also have great defense and have done it for their whole career pretty much. Now we're moving on to number 5. Now at number 5 is Dennis Rodman. If this is a rebounding list, he probably would be number 1, but not number 1, because there's obviously Wilt and Bill, but he'd be up there with the highest. He was a great defensive player. He had 2 defensive player of the years and 8-time all defensive. Now people think that's like Ben Wallace had 4, but Dennis Rodman played great defense throughout his whole career. He proved as well by winning 5 championships. Yes, Ben Wallace also had 1, and I said before, I don't really mind if you switch them around. You just have to stay like with your logic consistently. Like you have to use the same logic for everything. You can't like you switch up different logic. And I value consistency for defense quite a lot. He was a great rebounder. I know that doesn't value into defense. That would be a completely different list. But in both of his runs with the Chicago Bulls, he was critical to their defense. In the Utah series, both of them, he was the primary defender on Carmelo. Carmelo still died of raw games, but in some of those games he choked due to Dennis Rodman. And same with Magic Johnson in the Detroit days when they won the series where they versed Lakers. He actually shut down. He didn't really shut him down. When I say shut down, people say he didn't shut him down, but like I'm just saying he played great defense. Maybe that's my fault. I should clarify that. But he did play great defense on him, and when he has to play against big time players and offensive machines, he shows up big time. Now to number 4. Now number 4 is Dennis Rodman and Michael Jordan's teammate in the second run they had with the Chicago Bulls, Scottie Pippen. People think maybe this is too high. I think this is perfect for him. Even though he doesn't have any defensive player of the years, I think if he had more, I'd put him higher. But he was in the race for a few of them. He didn't get any, but he does have 10 all defensive. And same with him, he can't really be shown in his stats. He did have a lot of steals, averaged 2 steals for his whole career. Had the steals champ, but he can't really be shown in his career. Great perimeter defense. If you didn't know, in the first final they had the 91 finals, Jordan game 1, he was brought Magic. He couldn't do much. Magic had an absolute amazing game. So what did Phil Jackson do? Put Scottie Pippen on Magic Johnson. He put him, I actually mean this, he actually shot him down. He did have a decent game, but he was shooting horrendous efficiency and couldn't really play make, because Scottie was getting a lot of steals that game as well. And this wasn't prime Scottie either. And people always, I don't like when people disrespect Scottie Pippen. You're like, oh, he'd be nothing without Michael Jordan. Yes, he wouldn't be the same person, but everyone needs that number 2, and it was shown when Scottie wasn't there. They weren't doing as well. Dennis Rodman tried to step in and doing that, and he done alright, but you can't really replace like Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen has his own unique style, great assist maker, and great defender. Now moving on to number 3. Now Dikembe Mutombo is an interesting one, and he had alright perimeter defense, but where he mainly comes in is, everyone knows, his blocking. He's probably the greatest blocker of all time, except the person coming up next. He had 3 block champions, 8-time All-Star. He had 6 all defense and 4-time defensive player of the year. Now people are gonna be confused why him and Ben had kind of the same thing. Yeah, and I don't mind if you switch them around. They're really the same thing, because they had short but the Kembe did enter the NBA pretty late. But yeah, they did have pretty much the same thing. Both had quite a lot of defensive player of the years, but around the same all defenses, and their like defensive presence was only during their prime. I mean, Dikembe played until he was 42. Oh my god, but yeah, I managed to switch them around. But honestly, first I had Scottie over Dikembe, but then I realized I probably should switch them around, because Dikembe's rim protection wasn't only the blocks. As Bill Russell said, you have to make the defender think you're gonna block it, even if you're not gonna block it. Like, you have to make them think. And being a great rim protector doesn't only mean you have to get blocks. Joel Embiid is a perfect example. He had like 1.5 blocks, but he's not a great rim protector because he can just make people think he's gonna block their shots, and like people miss. But Dikembe and Ben Wallace are kind of the same. You could put him above, but now this was a very close one between number 1 and number 2, but number 2 is Hakeem Olajuwon. You could put him number 1, I don't mind, but as a big man, he's such a versatile defender. 2 defensive player of the years. That doesn't show is all his defense. 90s and 2000s were one of the most hardest times for defense, so that's why I see some of these other guys not have, like these 90 guys like Scottie Pippen and stuff, not have as much defensive player of the years. As you see, he was handing out a lot. MJ, Dennis Rodman, Hakeem, Gary Payton, these people already had some, and some other people got some as well. That's why Ben and Dikembe have quite a few as well, because when they started getting theirs, defenses were still very prominent, but these players had to split between among themselves. He has 3-time block champion and 2-time NBA champion. I know that doesn't matter, but in those 2 NBA champion, he was critical to them. 9-time all defensive, and even as a big man, had averaged 1.7 steals throughout his career. And in playoffs, he is top 15 in every major statistical category except assists. And even outside that, he is the first in blocks all time in playoff history as well. I think so. He's number 2 behind someone. Now number 1, I know I made the argument for Wilt before, but even if I made the argument, Bill is 100% the greatest defender of all time in my opinion. I said you can have Hakeem over him, that's the only person I'll probably accept. And if you wanna evaluate, like you don't wanna get rid of old players, that's understandable, I understand, but Will, obviously in these days blocks weren't recorded, so we have to make a judgment of what we hear, and I know people don't like that, but that's what I have to do. He was known as a great defender, and obviously defensive player of the year was not there, but we can base it off what we've heard. And the last season of his career, where all defenses did come around, he got it, and he had an all-star every year of his career because he had that influence on the league. People think how he won 5 MVP. He was just very influential on defense. He just showed he didn't put that most amazing numbers in his terms of points, but people realize how, like, in the league, people at that time players voted and they just respected how good his defense was, and he had the most influence on defense to this day. In the 90s, you ask any player, they'll say Bill Russell had the most influence on defense, and I've done a lot of research on this, and thank you so much for watching.